Welcome to today's after school club. Today we are with doing junior makers. So we're our younger version. And today we are going to be learning about stop motion animation. So I'm sure you've heard of stop motion animation before or seen movies or videos in stop motion animation. Like examples of a stop motion animated video is maybe like The Nightmare Before Christmas or James and the Giant Peach, Kubo and the Two Strings, Coraline. Those are all some really fun, great examples of stop motion animation. And a lot of times stop motion animation uses things like clay and things like that, but you can really use anything to for your stop motion video, which is a lot of fun. So you can, so that is what we're going to be learning to do today. But you might be thinking like, but what is stop motion animation? So stop motion stop motion is a type of filmmaking or video making where you physically move little something. So it could be like toys or paper, and you just move them in very small increments between individual photographs. So basically you're moving something and taking a photograph, you're moving something and taking a photograph. And they then appear to be just moving independently when you see them in a series of frames when they're played back. So like if you are watching them like frame by frame by frame, each of those pictures is called a frame. And so when you look at them in quick succession, just quickly one after another, it looks like those things are moving. But because it's just you're moving the things very slowly in each individual frame. So a stop motion animated video can take a really long time because of all those like little tiny movements that you have to take a picture of. But it makes some really cool results, which is a lot of fun. So I actually have a video that I'm going to show you as an example of stop motion animation. It's called The Robot and the Butterfly. And basically, I'm not going to show you the whole thing. It's pretty long. But this is just an example of stop motion. And so just something to think about, like anytime you see any movement, it's a picture, like somebody is moving each of those little like items that are moving, and then a picture's being taken and it's getting moved again, and a picture and getting moved again, and a picture. And so it can take a lot of work. And so this is basically a little video made of mostly paper, which is pretty cool. So the beginning, you can see all of the different types of presentations of the title, and it's probably just like different kiddos coloring the paper different ways, and then they're just laying those pieces of paper one on top of each other and taking a picture each time. So anytime all these little flowers are moving, the butterfly, all of those are each individual frames, which is pretty interesting. But you can see how they're just using paper, like the background is paper, our little robot guy's paper, our butterfly is paper. So markers, crayons, they're using paint, which is pretty cool. This video, I know you can't hear, but it has some like audio to it. And so the app that we'll be using today, Stop Motion Studio, you can add your own voice if you would like to. And this could have been filmed like top down, where like the camera, it's just like the camera is facing down on like a table. But I think it might be to the side, because if you can see on the birds, they have these pins. So it makes me think that these was like all of these were up on a wall, and then they moved, whoever was the director was actually moving everything on that wall. So they might have stuck it on with like tape or glue or something like that, which is pretty interesting. Or maybe it's a little bit of both. Maybe some of them are on the tape. Maybe this is like on a wall and some of it is on the ground, like on a hard table. So like top down. So yeah, so this is just one example of like paper. I actually have another example that I'm going to show you. I'm going to stop sharing this, and I'm going to share another screen with you So this is a video that was made a couple years ago by a kiddo for Junior Maker. So I'm going to start it over again. What's going on? Here we go. There we go. Okay, so you can see that basically the kiddo just made it out of Play-Doh. This is just out of Play-Doh, right? And basically you can even kind of like see frame by frame. Oh, maybe not. Maybe if you can kind of see how like each individual, how he manipulated the Play-Doh and each individual frame. So you could do that with Play-Doh, you could do that with toys, a lot of different things. So I'm going to kind of show you how you can do things with like some toys and some paper today. So some things that you might need for doing some stop motion animation, you're going to need a tablet or a smartphone. So I'm going to be using, I have a iPad with me, and I have the app already downloaded. And so I'm just gonna, there we go. So we're gonna be using Stop Motion Studio app, which is a free app. There are some you can, for $5, you can get a paid version and it gets you a lot more features. But if you're just kind of wanting to kind of get an idea or a taste of how stop motion animation works, it's a really, really great first, just like free version of for a stop motion animated software. Example of things that you can animate. You can do toys or paper or Play-Doh, anything that really helps you make your story. And then you need like some craft materials for background and scenery. So scissors, glue, pipe cleaners, tape, construction paper, markers or crayons, stickers, anything that you have around the house really. So like the nice thing about it is that you don't need a lot to make a really cool video. Obviously our kiddo that we just saw, he just had some Play-Doh and did something really neat with it. So you could do the same. So I'm actually going to then start sharing. I'm going to stop sharing this, and I'm going to share. I'm going to move a little bit because I want you to kind of see. I actually have a scenery already set up behind me, and so we're going to kind of get a little bit crazy a little bit. So I'm going to change the view so that you can see my scenery. So I actually made a little set. And I have my background. It's just like, I just made it with paper and some glue. I'm going to be setting up my iPad on just like a little iPad kind of stand. And I am actually going to start the app right now. Yeah, so this is called Stop Motion Studio, and it's a really cool app that you can use. So we are going to actually, I'm going to show you, there's like a little video that they have made, like that's already programmed, like kind of that's installed onto it that you can kind of see how it works. So this is called Big Fish, and we're going to go over all of that. So I'm just going to hit play. And so this was already created, and a lot of this, oops. Let's maybe start at the very beginning. Pause. There we go. We're going to start at the very beginning. So this was already made. I mean, obviously, you can add to it if you want, which is pretty cool. But a lot of the features that you see are paid features, so you aren't really going to be able to do maybe some of the things that you need, want to. Like that beginning credit and some other things, end credit stuff. But it's a pretty cool. It just kind of gives you an idea of like what you can do with Stop Motion Studio. So we're going to go back, and we're actually going to create a new movie. So I'm going to hit that plus sign, and I'm going to move my. So I'm going to set up my camera just like that. And I'm actually gonna, for a second, I'm just gonna stop sharing my screen so you can kind of focus on, so we can focus on what is going on the app. I am going to change, I'm gonna change my view a little bit so you can kind of see, I'm just gonna pick it up for the, so you can see there's a lot of different buttons. You're like, oh my goodness, what's going on with all these buttons? If you go down to the bottom right hand, there is a question mark. And if you hit that question mark, it's highlighted blue. And turn off and on, you can kind of see what everything does. And I'm going to explain all of these things. But if you ever need help, like, oh, where does this do? And what does this do again? You can always hit the question mark sign to do that. So I'm going to hit that again. So the biggest thing is going to be, I need to make sure I'm going to turn it around so I'm not, oh, don't go upside down. Well, we'll just hold it this side. So kind of the biggest thing is going to be the capture. So that's going to be that big red button on your right-hand side of the screen. So if I just touch that once, you are going to see down at the bottom that that is my first frame. And so if I want to take another picture, I can take another picture, and so on. There we go. I can take as many as I want. And then if I need to, right below that is the play button. And so that kind of goes through all of the frames that you had taken, or all the pictures you take. So each picture you take is called a frame. And so nothing is really that exciting going on, so I might, but I'm going to keep those for the time being. But if I want to, I can actually change. I'm kind of going through and looking at each picture, just kind of going through with my finger and scrolling to each one. And you can do that to kind of get an idea of what it's going to look like. But since I don't have anything moving, it's not that exciting. So maybe I want to add a little bit of something. So I'm going to add a spider to our scenery. So I'm going to go back to the very end, because that's kind of our camera, and I have this big crazy black spider. So I'm going to take a picture of our scene with the spider, or maybe we'll make it so I'm going to look at our last one, and I'm actually I'm going to go back to the camera view. And so on the very left-hand side, there is this thing that has like an up and down, and you see at the one, there's a 1, and then kind of, and you can see how there's like some movement going on. And basically that's called the onion skin. So basically, if you see here at the, when the, excuse me, when the circle's at the very, very top, it's basically live camera view, right? I'm moving this up and down, but as I move it down, you can see there's kind of like a haze coming. And that is because that is the last frame taken, the last picture taken is kind of being used as an overlay. And if I go all the way down, then basically what you're seeing is completely, if I'm moving my iPad right now, but obviously the camera's not moving, because basically you're just seeing the picture. And the point of this is so you can kind of line things up again. So this is called the onion skin. So obviously if I had all the way up, I wouldn't know like, oh, I moved my camera. I don't know where I need to line things up. So if I use that onion skin, I can kind of line things up again a little bit to the best of my abilities. Obviously it won't be perfect because I don't know exactly where things were, and that's okay. But then it just allows me to kind of get things lined up. And then if I want to add my, you can see then I'm going to add a spider and then take a picture. And add a spider again. And you can see, even though I'm moving my iPad, I can kind of line things up again. So then your scenery is not just like jumping back and forth. So I'm going to do this one more time. So I'm using the house to kind of line things up. So now, if I scroll back through, you can kind of see how, so right now I have 10 frames. So what I'm actually going to do is, there's right above the picture, so that, like, you can see where it says picture 1, picture 2 of 10, 3 of 10, 4 of 10. Those are all my pictures, and right above that there are some icons. And you should see one that looks like a gear. It's the circular one with the teeth, and that is like a little gear. If you touch that, there, that's going to give us some options for. I'm going to actually make my. I'm going to hit done really quickly. I'm going to make my onion skin all the way down so I'm not like. But basically, this is going to allow us to change our frames per second. And that basically means how many pictures are going to be shown within 1 second. So right now, the frames per second are three frames per second, or 3 pictures per second. And if I click done, I'm going to hit the play button. And if we do it all together, you can see that's how it looks at 3 frames per second. Now I'm going to change that. I'm going to hit that gear button one more time, and I'm going to change it. I'm going to go up to 10 frames per second. You can tell because there's a little, there should be a little bar at the, like, above the number. So right now it's above 6. Now it's above 4. Now it's going to be above 10. So I'm going to hit done, and I'm going to hit the play button, which is right under that red button, one more time. And when I do that, it speeds up our video, right? So there's more frames going per second. And so it's a little bit smoother, a little less kind of choppy. And but then it goes by a lot quicker, right? So we can even change it up to where it goes up to like 25 frames per second. We'll see how that looks. So it goes really quickly, right? So almost too quickly. So I feel like that 10 frames per second was a pretty good speed. So then if I wanted to, I can add a few more things. So maybe I want to add some leaves dropping. So I'm going to then actually set my camera up on my thing. I'm going to move my onion. So now I'm going to change my perspective a little bit. I'm going to bring this back. Is that upside down? Just a second, friends. I'm going to do one thing. There we go. Okay. So now maybe I have my little spider here, and now maybe I want to make the leaves of my tree fall. So I have some leaves here, and what I'm actually going to do is I am going to make it so that I'm going to maybe change it so you can kind of see more of the tree. There we go. So I have some glue and some my leaves, and what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to initially stick using some here's my leaf. I have some glue stick. I'm actually going to just stick a little bit of glue under my tree, and to make it, I'm going to animate these leaves to make it look like they're falling. So I'm going to animate these 2 leaves. So I'm going to press my button, my red button again. So we've added a frame. Now I'm just going to pick it up and move, pick it up and move. Press that red button again. Pick it up and move. Pick this up and move. Red button again. And notice I'm not moving them very far. I'm just moving them a little bit. Not a ton. But I'm kind of moving them side to side. Oop. And this is where the onion skin really comes in play, because I had been, so now I know it was right around here, so I'm going to move it right down there. So that's why that onion skin is so helpful. I might even make it a little bit more apparent. A little bit more glue on the yellow one. So it kind of makes it look like the wind is turning it. Obviously, it takes a long time, right, to do this. All those little movements does a lot. And so now I went from, let's do it one more time. We can get those into frame. Okay, so now I have about 19 frames. So let's press that play button and see how our video looks now. So I really like that the falling leaf version, right? That's pretty cool. So what I could do, because if we go back to frame number 1, our very first frame, you can see I had actually, I had those leaves on the bottom already, right? I had, like, they're already on the ground. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to move the frames of my tree losing its leaves. I want to move them from the end to the very beginning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, you can see where all my pictures are. There's that blue square that highlights each of the frames. And I'm going to find the frame that starts with our tree, which leaves falling, so it's frame number 10. So I just touch frame number 10. I have this really great menu bar that comes up. And what I'm going to do is I'm on the bottom left-hand side, there is an option called select. And I'm going to hit the select option, and it highlights that one frame blue. But if I use my finger to drag over, it drags it, it actually highlights all of them to be blue, right? So then I'm going to touch that last one again just with my finger, and I'm going to hit the cut button, which is the scissors. So I'm going to touch the scissor cut button, and now they've all gone away. So now I only have, it looks like I only have 10. They didn't delete, they just cut out. So I'm going to go back to frame number 1. I'm going to touch frame number 1, and I'm going to touch the paste or the little clipboard. And now all of those frames are at the very beginning, right? So if I press that play button at the right-hand side again, now all of those now my leaves have fallen and my little spider is going. But maybe I want to add something. I actually have another spider. So maybe I want to add this spider coming into frame as well. So you can see that I have my onion skin on. So our last frame is this one. So we're going to go back to our camera. And so I'm going to get our little guy into frame just a little bit. Where's he at? I might even, oh, there we go. I need to change. So I'm going to try and, no, that's okay. So I have my little spider, and I'm going to have our spider come into frame next. So I'm going to hit that I could keep pressing that, moving them and then hitting the red button, moving and hitting the red button. But there is a little timer. The option right above that red button, that is a timer. And so basically that tells you, it's going to give you the option to have the camera take a picture after so many seconds without you having to physically touch that red button. So I'm going to say I want the iPad to take a picture every 2 seconds. So I'm going to hit done. So now when I hit that red button, I can just move and it takes a picture for me. And so I don't have to worry about I don't have to worry about touching that button. I just have to worry about getting my hand out of the way, which I don't think I did in all of them. And then if I touch it again, then I've stopped. So now, if we press that play button again, let's go to the very beginning. So now our leaves are changing, and then, oop. And now you can see, you saw in one of my frames, my hand got in there, right? So this, I have one where my hand actually got in there. So if I actually touch that frame again, in the bottom right, there's a delete option, and I'm just gonna delete that. And so it might kind of go from here to here, but that's okay. And so let's go to the very beginning again. And you can kind of, even if you kind of see, and because we have that onion skin, go to the very end. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make it so you can't, the onion skin is off basically, or so you can actually use your finger to glide down and you can kind of see what frame works. You kind of see how things work together. So maybe we had it at 10 frames per second. So maybe I want to go up it to 15 frames per second and see how that looks. So it looks a little bit, it goes pretty quick. So that 10, or maybe we wanted to slow it down a little bit. So maybe 8 frames per second would be better. Let's see. I don't know, I kind of like the 8 frames per second. But you can see how there are just so many different ways that you can do this. And that's just like out of, I mean, it's not very long, it's just a couple seconds. And it would obviously take a long time to make a video that was a few minutes, let alone like a full-length movie. But you could make a video as long or as short as you can, making with things just that you have around the house. And it's a really cool way to get creative and like kind of get your movie making going, which is a lot of fun. So I'm going to turn around really quickly and get back. I'm going to turn my camera back on for me so you can see me one more time. There we go. Yeah, so it's a really, really great app that it's really easy to use. It's easy to figure out, I feel like, and create your own videos. And then if you are wanting to, you can always pay a little bit of money, just $5 to get all the extra features like a green screen. So if you have like a plain green screen like background, then you can, and you wanted to like have an ocean view, then you can insert a picture of an ocean view, and because it's green screen, it easily overlays over that scene. It's pretty cool what you can do with a green screen. So maybe you want a picture of like your dog as the background. You could add that as the picture of your dog and things like that. Oh, I have a question. Is there a way to do this with Android? I just joined, and this is my first day. Yeah, so you can absolutely. I'm pretty sure this is free with Android as well. Let me double check that. But I believe it is. Motion Studio. Yes, so you would be able to buy it on Google Play as well. Great question. Oh, I'm gonna stop my stop sharing with this. There we go. Okay. So yeah, so you would be able to, if you had an Android phone or an Android tablet, you would absolutely be able to do that as well. So yeah, absolutely, you can do that with an Android. Like I said, I have we have iPads here, but you can easily do it with any kind of smartphone or tablet, which is a lot of fun. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed my video. That's kind of it for me. Play around with it. If you guys are making your own stop motion video, let us know. Send us to DoSpace. We would love to see what you're making and what your inspiration is. So next week we are going to be, for our Make It and Junior Makers, but I'm going to be doing origami, and we're actually switching to Twitch. So if you want to join us and watch me make some really cool origami items, we are going to be on Twitch. So our DoSpace handle is DoSpace Omaha. So check us out next week. when we go on Twitch. And yeah, I hope you guys have a lot of fun making some stop motion animation videos. You might be the next just like really cool stop motion animated director out there. So get to making. Have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.